I'm alive. I shouldn't be.
He should not be alive. This is unfucking believable.
From the heart of trucker America, my boy Reed Coverdale, host of The Naturalist Capitalist.
This is what government does. It sucks.
If you think you're going to win people over by stating commonplaces, you're just selling the other part.
It is about dictating every transaction that you have for the rest of your life.
Mr. Potato Head.
Coverdale is the guy to be president of the United States.
You intimidated me with your perfect 74 stat.
That was the beginning of my problems.
He died doing what he loved, chasing a minor.
But I'll put a 50 cal attached to my Suburban.
Libertarians need to get out of New York.
The gulag is going to be in your house.
This guy's a fucking murderer. He deserves to be in a dungeon.
Gotta get him out of that truck at night and get him into the White House.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Naturalist Capitalist. If I were a professional, which I should be at this point, but I'm still not, I would have had this link set up like yesterday or something, so you'd be prepared and know it was coming. But I've been running around like crazy, doing all sorts of shit. So we're just going live without any warning. So buckle up. It's going to be fun. I am streaming to Facebook again. I haven't done that for like a year, and I figured I'd just start doing it again. So there you go. Now I'm streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and then everything saves over on Odyssey, and I will upload everything to podcast format on Podbean, which puts it out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that shit. And you can listen to them there if you'd rather do that than watch them on YouTube or Odyssey or Facebook. But let's see what else. I've condensed my links in the description. They're just in my link tree now because it was getting ridiculous. I had like 20 links for people to follow me, but just click on the link tree and that brings you to every single platform I'm on. Please go there, follow me on all those platforms. You can also buy shirts on there. You can subscribe to my Substack. And you can join my Telegram channel, which is something I'm really trying to push. Getting near 200 followers on Telegram. It's not fast growth, but I think it's one of those platforms that seems like it's going to be the way of the future in some ways. So if you want to go follow me there, please do that. Anyway, tonight on the show, this guy just had me on his show last week, and he's done a lot of artwork. He's probably like king of Liberty memes. He's very good at them. I've starred in a few of his memes. My favorite one that he did was when I had Tom Woods on the show with the shades because he had just had LASIK surgery. This guy took the Blues Brothers and superimposed Tom's face and my face on top of it. It was pretty funny. That's still the thumbnail for that video. Go check that out if you haven't seen that. I forget what episode it is, but had Tom was on the show. Anyway, this guy does all sorts of funny memes like that. He makes funny videos, and he also has his own show, Dave versus Goliath, and he's had a lot of interesting people on and had a lot of good conversations. Dave Casey, how you doing tonight, man?
Reed, I'm doing great. Thanks for that intro, man. That was really nice. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, I had Brian McWilliams on Tuesday, and we were talking about how remarkable it is with how many libertarians there are and how much weaponized autism there is within that group. There's like remarkably few people with artistic abilities, I would say, like given the number of people there are, but you're certainly one of those people with the artistic abilities. Is that something you've toyed around with forever, or is that a more recent thing you've been doing, or where did you start like playing with videos and photography and everything?
Yeah, so I guess, probably like memes and stuff. Like, probably like the beginning of the Mises Caucus. And I've always kind of been like a fake it till you make it kind of guy. So like I've never been a photographer or a graphic designer, but I use Josh Smith as an example of this because like when he would run for chair or whatever was going on, like I would make a meme for him and he would hit me up and be like, can you do one, make a quick video? I'm like, nah, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, but then I would figure out how to do it like quick, like just whatever, man, do a quick Google. Oh, you can do that. Turns out it's like pretty easy to, just do some quick edited videos or whatever, make a quick GIF or even make a podcast, like just get out there and do it, man. But I liked making memes for the caucus because I was pumped that like there was going to be a space for the Ron Paul revolution, and that was very appealing. And I liked kind of like just being like a cheerleader. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just get people excited a little bit. In the beginning, you need some of that spark, man. So, yeah, started with the memes and then, escalated from there, I guess. But, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I respect the fake it till you make it attitude, because that is how I live my life 100%. Like, I always laugh at people who want to start backpacking or start skiing or start podcasting or start whatever, and they go out and they buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and they've never even tried the hobby that they're interested in pursuing. They've never actually just gone and rented a pair of skis for the day and actually decided to see if they're good at it at all. Or, podcasting, they don't actually have anything to talk about. They've got a great green screen set up with great graphics and super cool special effects, but the podcast just has no meat to it, or, they don't have any endurance or interesting and actually building a sweat, any interest in building a sweat and working hard or whatever. But they buy like these super nice backpacks and all this, super expensive 511 gear that they wear into the mountains, and they go twice, and then the shit sits in the garage for 3 years and never gets used again. I've never respected that at all. I 100% respect the guys who just like kind of dive into something and figure out how to do it, and then as they realize they like doing something, then they're like, okay, now I'm going to invest in this. And that's where I fall short. Even after I've realized I'm good at something or realized I want to pursue something, I still like don't buy the shit forever. Like, I think it was episode like 180 before I got a good microphone or something. It was something ridiculous like that. And it was like, all right, Reed, that's
part of the appeal,
that's a little
though, bro.
ridiculous, but I know. But are you like that in other areas of your life too? Or are you just a jump in and figure it out type of guy in general? Or
no, man, I'm actually, from the majority of my life, I've been rather risk averse. And I hate to give the caucus more props, but like the take human action thing, like really was a good mantra. Like if you say something to yourself, like most days of the week, you're like, you could say, if you say to yourself, I hate myself 7 days a week, you're going to fucking hate yourself. If you say, I'm going to take human action, I'm going to do something today, I'm going to put something out, I'm going to like reach out into the universe and like create and see what happens. Like if you just do that, dude, I know it sounds a little corny, but like cool things can happen. Like whether or not that's what you intended to happen or that you get the end result that you wanted or not, cool things happen when you put stuff out into the universe. So, more of that, the better. But I don't know. Yeah, I haven't always been like that, but I'm trying to do more of it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I wonder if... Yeah, I think I'm hosting the show. Reed, you there, buddy? Anywhooser, I host a show called Dave versus Goliath. We do shows on Monday nights, typically. We just had one tonight because some scheduling conflict. But yeah, it's me and my buddy Dan. We host it together and talk about... There he is!
Well, case in point, this actually isn't my fault. It's not from faulty equipment, but I'm at Phil's house and his internet just gave out for me for some reason, so I'm using
as
my
long as it
hotspot
wasn't
on my
me,
phone
I'm
now.
okay with it. I'm glad it wasn't me. All good, dude.
So I'm sure whatever you just said was great, but I didn't hear.
I plugged myself.
But
told
everyone in the
to check it
audience. Oh, there you go. Well, I told you it was great. So anyways,
that's right.
I hope I'm back for the duration of the episode at this point. You're not the first guy to end up solo on my show, as I'm sure you're aware. That's happened a few times. It's been a while though. That was a little embarrassing, so I apologize to everyone.
All good, man. Next time I'm doing a dance number.
So speaking of plugging yourself, why did you start the Dave versus Goliath show, and what is it about? It sounds like you're taking on giants with just a slingshot. You're ready to go take on the world. What was the idea behind the podcast, and what have you turned it into at this point?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit older, I think, than the majority of the guys who are getting into this. Typically, I'm 41. I was kind of like ready to start. I've always been like a truther guy, more like I was a 9/11 guy early on. I know I've seen you do some good reporting on that. Have some great guests on that. But that was like before Liberty and all that shit came that first. That's what like led to the exploration of like, okay, like where's the source of all this corruption? Oh, like government, right? But no, I guess I don't know. What was your original question? Sorry, repeat that one more time.
Why did you start the show? Like, what inspired you to get it going?
I would have.
What has it turned into since then?
Yeah, I think I was getting ready to like just chill out at like 40, and then the pandemic happened, dude. And that was like everything that I had kind of like been, I'll use the term wargaming, like just kind of like in your head, you can play it out how they would do it, how this would go. Again, this is like Alex Jones was right type of shit, like the whole time. But I would have just chilled out. Like, all right, man, maybe this one world thing is not going to be the thing that it is, and I could just sail off and live a happy life. But that shit threw me for a loop, man. I was like, in the beginning, like, you couldn't travel from PA to Delaware, Delaware to PA. You couldn't go to work. Like, I was just like, this is the worst shit I've ever fucking seen. And I felt like, one, I didn't want to lose contact with, like, my friends and, like, lose, like, that connection. You know what I mean? Like with just people, like people were staying in and people were like not seeing other people. It was just like so bizarre, man. So that was like my first inclination. I was like, yo, we need to keep like the lines of communication open and we need to talk about this shit as much as we can. And also I saw like, kind of like an opening in the space. Like I've heard a lot of people say there's a lot of libertarian podcasts, but there's some, but I don't think there's enough. Like we should have more podcasts. There should be more like you said, more creators. I don't think that we're anywhere even close. But yeah, I kind of just figured, all right, if there's a time to do it, it's probably now. You'll enjoy it. Everybody's on Zoom. Everybody can. And again, you were talking about earlier, using what you got and before you go out and buy all the shit. Like I was using my iPhone. You know what I mean? I do have a green screen back here, but I didn't invest like a lot of money. I do a lot I did anyway, with iMovie and GarageBand, man, these things that just come on your phone. Like these are miracles and you can do a lot with those without spending any kind of bucks. But yeah, the podcast, dude, I just figured why not? Like I should try this. If, at the very least I could talk to cool people. And again, keep the lines of communication open, maybe learn some shit and, hopefully, like best case scenario, like build out the community and maybe affect some change.
Yeah. When I first started the podcast, I had moved out west from New Hampshire to get a trucking job. And then I'd had a bunch of interviews that were lined up that just fell flat because of COVID, because it was right in March of 2020. So I was living out in the Rocky Mountains, with my aunt and uncle, helping them build their house. And I just recorded a couple podcasts and we were way off the grid. It was almost like having dial-up internet service again. So I would record an episode on Skype with a friend and it would be super fucking choppy. And then it would take like, literally all day and night for it to upload to YouTube. And then I ended up getting a job out in Utah and I moved into an apartment. And I didn't have any Wi-Fi because I had to be home for them to come install it. But I was just trucking all day, every day. So I was gone for, weeks and weeks. And I kept trying to organize a time because they wouldn't come on the weekends. They'd only do it during the regular 5-day work week. So I tried to, fit a day, could come be around while they were there. And I missed them 2 different times. And so I have a tablet, just a Mac or, Apple tablet. And I would just put it on the kitchen table leaning up against my lunchbox and use LTE service to record the episode on Skype. And then I'd go to McDonald's and sit in the parking lot where I could pick up the Wi-Fi and download it, because it would go to the cloud on Skype or whatever, and then I would download it onto my computer and then put the intro in and edit it a little bit and then put it up on YouTube. So it's just
Holy
like
shit.
that's how you got to do it, man. Like if you're starting out, like if you got an idea, you just kind of go for it, and then if it takes off, it takes off. So I don't know. I think
Hell
it's
yeah,
great, man.
man.
I'm glad that I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and you just jumped in and filled a gap. But I think it's great.
Thanks, brother.
So whereabouts in Delaware are you? I've got family or they're just outside of Wilmington, Delaware. Over, I don't know if you've been to Brandywine Creek State Park. They're over in that area. Nice area.
We do a lot of tubing. Yeah, down the Brandywine.
Yeah.
And we're really I'm in Newcastle, so I'm 10 minutes outside of Wilmington, about 25, 30 minutes from Philly. Yep.
Yeah, Delaware's I don't know. I don't like most of it, but there are some like really nice spots that are kind of underrated. Like once you get off the beaten path, it is very pretty country. And same with New Jersey, actually. Like New Jersey, people definitely don't think of like farmland and kind of nice country roads or whatever. But once you get away from New York City and you get a little bit south, Jersey's actually pretty nice in some areas, I think.
Hell yeah, man. I don't have to tell you this, bro. You've been everywhere in the truck. But I used to tour with Dan, the co-host on my show. Used to play drums in a signed band, and I worked for the band for a couple years. And we went everywhere. Like, everywhere, 49 states, everywhere except Alaska. And there's a lot of farmland, man. This is I say this to everybody. This is Trump country. This is not, what I mean by that, it's just, America's rural. It's all, that's what it is. And there's these little, whether it's Wilmington or Philly or Pittsburgh, or there's these, these little outposts of shittiness that fucking destroy everything and stack people and destroy all the agriculture and put up, a pavement over everything. And there's no trees, there's no fresh air, there's no fresh water, and industry from 200 years ago. And yeah, they want to run everything. So, I tell everybody, just get the fuck out of the city. I saw some guy tweet the other day, said, moving out of the city is code for I don't want to live around black people. I'm like, I looked at his profile. He like lives in the city. He's like Democrat voter, like fucking pronouns, Ukraine flag, the whole shebang. You're a racist piece of shit, bro. I hate to break it to you. You're the racist. It's like, if you're saying something.
No,
like that.
I mean, I've always noticed, because I used to do power line work. The people who are living out in the country and just want to have electricity, if you say, hey, sorry, we got to cut this tree down because it's just growing too close to the power lines, or we got to trim this, or we got to set the pole right next to your flower garden. Sorry, that's just where it's got to go. All the people who live in the real world, who understand, like, okay, there's no, there's no perfect solution to everything. They're kind of okay with that. They're just like, yeah, all right, whatever, you got to do what you got to do. It's always the snotty white liberal from, some city who has a vacation home that you're trying to, just put a pole on the corner of the street, to get the wires around. And they always freak out. They're always like, that's too close to, my flower garden, or that's going to mess me up when I try to mow my lawn or whatever, They're the biggest pains in the ass, and they're also the ones with the highest demands. They like always are pushing for, more electric cars and more battery powered stuff, and they don't realize like a lot of the things they're pushing for can hurt the environment more, and they're also going to create needs for more power lines, more right of ways, more trees getting cut down. Like there's this. It's so funny in New Hampshire. There's this project that's been shot down a couple times. It was called the Northern Pass, and they were going to run power lines from Quebec down to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and it was going to be run by the turbines up at this big dam up in Quebec. So it would have been 100% clean energy, which is what all these liberals always say they want. But it got shot down, and it was in a sort of bipartisan manner, but a lot of the people railing against this were environmentalists because they didn't want to have to cut down like 8 miles of trees to extend a right of way that could go all the way up to Canada. And so there's this big coal plant in Bow called the Merrimack Power Plant that had been shut down. And they were trying to phase things toward more clean energy. But then when the Northern Pass got shot down, it's like, well, I guess that's not going to work anymore. And so the Merrimack Power Plant was fired up again, coal's burning. You know, these people just can't get out of their own way. They have no idea what they're talking about. And they want to have their cake and eat it too. And I don't know. I just hate them, man. They're stupid. They don't understand how the world works, and they're the real elitists. You know,
they really are, dude. I've you guys probably. I think it was coined on your show. White women must be stopped. But like, the idea that a liberal American white woman in 2022 is. Like, I think that they could play victim when in fact they are the most privileged class of human being to ever walk the earth. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a disconnect. It's like the upside down, you know? We got to find somewhere maybe in the middle, but yeah, they're the worst. Ruining everything, undoing it. Tom Woods did a great Mises Institute speech on ingrates. Just the people that don't realize what has been like offered to, like handed to them. They don't realize that they are like the stewards of now. To like, you leave behind you every generation before you is left. I think the boomers are the first to like fuck this up, but every generation before you is supposed to like leave more for the next generation, like leave the kids better off. And like there's this disconnect, this like anti-human movement going on right now, bro. It's fucking that up.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to talk about Alex Jones a little bit because he's in court right now. I haven't been following it super closely, but
yeah.
What do you think about Alex Jones? I think you're a fan, right? You've been following him for a while, or
so. I guess you know it's a complicated relationship, but like going back almost, I don't want to say at least 15 years. Like, yeah, that guy was putting out. First of all, he was putting out. I think the first time I ever saw Ron Paul was on his show, probably. Mm-hmm. And when no news organizations in 2008, 9, 10 were, you know, giving him the time of day, like he would be on Alex Jones and he could get a half hour, you know. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, dude, yeah, he's been right about a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. When you really look back, and he really hurt my feelings with the Trump endorsement and like kind of tying onto that thing. But at the same time, he's been pretty apologetic about that. Like people who make mistakes in the public, whatever, they don't typically apologize for a lot, or like say, "Hey, man, I was wrong about this," and like he's done plenty of that. So I don't know. Everybody makes mistakes. We know lots of people that jumped on the Trump train, you know. So it's like whatever, man. Like I can't hate you for that. I understand the appeal. The motherfuckers who worked for Cambridge Analytica literally were like, "You need to do what the Ron Paul campaign did, minus the foreign policy shit, and we'll get you elected." That was the plan. So it's like they built the whole revolution was like there waiting for something to kind of take, you know, to lead it. Mm-hmm. Some of half, I don't know what the percentage is, but lots went. I still don't know what the fuck's up with Trump, man. I tend to think that presidents are selected, not elected. But there's things about his circumstance that seems weird. It's like they seem like they really fucking hate him.
Yeah.
You know, the proverbial capital T they. But I'm not certain.
Yeah, it's funny talking about Trump and how they hate him. Like I think they do. And I had Robbie Martin on my show a couple weeks, and we were talking about the amazing phenomenon that you have when the neoconservative establishment will not get the candidate that they want, but the candidate that gets in place is still really bad anyways and still does most of the things they want them to do. But they'll still criticize them from the neoconservative side, saying like they're not doing enough. So, for example, Obama, I don't think that they wanted Obama to win. I mean, if you look in 2008, you know, Robert Reagan, Bill Kristol, those guys were 100% behind John McCain. But then once Obama won, they're like, okay, we can handle this, you know, and they started getting in Obama's ear, and Obama surrounded himself with a lot of terrible people too. and ended up being a horrible president, really war hawkish and terrible and all sorts of things. And the same thing kind of happened with Trump. Like, some people bailed, like Robert Kagan and Bill Kristol actually did bail on the Republican Party when Trump won. But then you have people like Mike Pompeo, who were like really anti-Trump in the primary, and then they jump on board with him after he wins. And then John Bolton, what's the little weasel fuck's name?
Schiff.
Jeff Sessions.
Oh yeah.
All these guys that, like, he's not their preferred dude, but they'll get in there and be like, okay, we can influence this guy to do the things we want him to do. And then even if he'll do like most of what we want, when he won't do that one thing that we beg him to do, we are going to fucking shit on him in front of the world and make him look like the worst person who's ever been in the Oval Office. So with Trump, like, pulling out of Syria, even though we still haven't pulled out of Syria, at least as far as I know, just rearranging the troops and moving them away from the Turks. And, that caused this huge uproar that we were betraying the Kurds and stabbing our allies in the back or whatever. And it was like, this guy is doing like almost everything you guys want him to do. Like, a couple months after that, he ended up airstriking Soleimani. He's been sanctioning the fuck out of Iran. He's been, giving Ukraine all sorts of weapons. He's been doing all these business deals with Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Like, why do you guys hate this guy so much? But it would just be like, he won't do the one thing that you really wanted him to do that Hillary Clinton probably would have done, or like in Obama's case when he didn't actually invade Syria, or, he'd show a tiny bit of restraint somewhere, something that John McCain probably would have just barreled right through. They make them out to be like this anti-interventionist danger to the system or something. It's just like, what are you talking about? You guys have it made with this guy in here. But it's an interesting false dichotomy that they kind of construct, and it fools most of the people. It'll fool, all the neocons into thinking that Trump is like this dangerous anti-interventionist dude. And then it also fools a lot of his fans into thinking like, yeah, this guy's really out there stopping the wars and, rounding up the pedophiles. And it's just like, guys, none of this is happening. You gotta step back.
Everybody is going to be left disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. You pretty much nailed it right there, bro. And it almost doesn't matter like what his intentions are. Like, maybe he doesn't even know he's the mark. You know what I mean? He could just, because he is all ego. Like, if it's all about him and he gets to drive big trucks and do the things and throw parades to me, right? He might not even know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Monica Perez has a great term, that the face job. You know what I mean? Like, these guys who lead the shit rarely think and plot and actually control the thing, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg or Joe Biden or like, they're the face job. The guys who run the shit are behind the scenes the whole time.
Yeah.
Probably the same way for Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. I go back and forth between wondering if it's better to have the marginally better president who kind of puts all the anti-establishment people to sleep, or if it's better to have a Biden who no one's asleep except for him, while he's president. So, like, if we still had Trump, I think things would be marginally better, a little bit here and there. But there was just so much denial from the Republicans that anything bad was going on while he was president. And it was kind of the same with Obama. Like, a bunch of these people who hated Bush, who were against the Iraq war and everything, once Obama came in and, started all the shit with Libya, Syria, Yemen, they're just like, la, 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 I don't know what you're talking about. Like, stop telling. It almost makes me wish, like, McCain had won instead of Obama. It's like, okay, if you have all these anti-war left-wingers and they hate Bush, and then McCain comes in, maybe they would have, like, actually applied some meaningful pushback. And I feel the same way with the Republicans now with Biden, because when Trump was president, we had insane spending bills that just went right through Congress. They'd have like 2 or 3 Republicans vote against them. And now there's like almost gridlock if it's a bill that's half as big as one that Trump signed or whatever.
Bro.
And it's like, we can't do this. This is fiscally irresponsible. And all the Republicans are like putting their feet down. And I'm like, so I tend to lean toward the more accelerationist side. Like, it's better to have someone really bad, really transparently bad in there, because then that kind of puts the brakes on everything. But I don't know what you think.
I absolutely agree. Can you imagine if Hillary were president instead of
Oh, yeah.
Trump, Hillary never could have closed church on Sunday on Easter Sunday.
No.
That never could have happened under her watch. Only Trump
Yeah.
could do it because he's the best. He could do it. Art of the deal. So I feel like I think you're right. I think in 2008, dude, can you imagine if instead of Barack Obama, the hope and change candidate, we would have got the third term of George W. Bush?
Yeah.
The anti-war movement would still be around. It probably would have had a bigger, I think the biggest anti-war protest ever was in like 2007. Probably would have got bigger than that. Yeah, maybe, dude. I think that's what they do, though. Like, Obama was there to, one, hammer that healthcare thing day one as soon as you get in, but also suppress the anti-war left.
Yeah.
That's like the function of Obama. And Trump's, came back in. He plays like that kind of cowboy, like George Bush does. Like people go through this, the public goes through this like pendulum swing of like what they're kind of in the mood for, right?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like anyway. And going back to like 2000 and till now, people were ready for something other than Bush, and that's what they do. They give you what you want, but it's going to be brought to you by Citigroup.
Yeah, exactly. What I look for is if somebody is really against the flow, they're going to get like no media coverage. So like Rand Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, none of those people got like any media coverage. And whenever they did, it was either this person's an idiot or this person's a traitor. Right. Where with Trump, there was this weird phenomenon. He just had like all the wall-to-wall coverage that he could have ever dreamed of. It was, he would say something, a bit off the wall or whatever, and it's all every news media outlet would talk about for 2 days. That was like one of my red flags with him, actually. It was like, okay, if this guy is really like actually trying to put a damper on things and try to, stir things up and change the way the direction of this country is going, like it seems like they wouldn't be giving him all this attention. They'd be trying to like snuff him out. Maybe he was just so big and such a bombastic personality that there was nothing they could do. But that did always like kind of make me wonder, because every other person that I'd supported, they would do the suppression game. Like they wouldn't ask them any questions, wouldn't have them on. Where with him, it was like as much exposure as possible. So I don't know.
Well, that was their, wasn't that their strategy? The Pied Piper thing?
Yeah,
they wanted to like promote him.
Yeah.
So, maybe that was, I imagine let's just take the WikiLeaks as, legit. But hey, let's promote this as much. I heard that Democrats are doing that right now in 2022, like funding America First candidates because they think that will be the easier knockdown target. Dude, Chris Coons, deep state extraordinaire, Chris Coons, Delaware senator, had to beat Christine O'Donnell in 2010. She was the anti-masturbation crusader, the Wiccan. Remember? I don't know if you remember her, dude. But she was like this kind of like the first, like she was around like the Sarah Palin days of like post Tea Party where it had been corrupted, and they started just throwing you these like kind of Rick Perry caliber Republicans claiming to be that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all he had to do in blue Delaware was knock over this, that's an easy installation for a deep stater. He's been there for 12 years. Not to put the tinfoil hat on too tight, but
Yeah, so let's put the tinfoil hat on a little bit. So I have friends who like absolutely hate Alex Jones. They hate Jason Burmis. They hate anyone having to do with loose change. I don't hate those people. I don't have a reason to, because it's not like what I make my living off of. It's not like my passion or whatever. It's something I'm interested in. I'm very interested in 9/11, and a couple other conspiracy theories. But I find Alex Jones entertaining. Like I'd love to have him on the show at some point. Like that'd be pretty.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would. But I find him mostly entertaining. I do think that he delegitimizes a lot of stuff, because what he does is he he just kind of adds a lot of fantastic extra kind of bullshit onto something. And I feel like what that does is if you ever try to tell somebody that something is awry or something weird is going on, they'll instantly attach all the extra baggage that he brings with it to whatever you're saying. And then you can never interest them in anything legitimate anymore because they start thinking of interdimensional, shape-shifting demon invaders or whatever. But do you think he's done more to wake people up or more to turn people off? Because I could be wrong about that.
I mean, I definitely think he turns off, like, the audience that watches The View. Like, they are disgusted with Alex Jones, and that's fine. I definitely will accept that I'm in the minority. Let me say this first, dude. I don't have the InfoWars app on my phone. I don't remember the last time I've watched like a full episode of that. It's probably been a decade. What my interest in right now is the precedent that's going to be set when they fry him again. Yes. Like in 2018, you and I are perfect examples. I wonder what this is going to look like in a couple years for content creators who are saying liberty shit. Well, we're fucking experienced. We know what that is. That's CIA, literal CIA agents determining what the rules and standards are for Facebook. No wonder I can't fucking stream there right now. Twitter's, I mean, obviously these are, if anybody throws out it's a private company, bro, you're retarded. So these are all tools of the government, if not like directly, I mean, there's definitely a quid pro quo there. But yeah, that's what I'm interested in. What's going to happen? We just saw a gun manufacturer get sued, and I think that because that manufacturer was out of business and they sued the insurance company that insured that manufacturer, the insurance company was like, yeah, we'll pay it. So they got this, there's been like a historic precedent set with people suing a gun manufacturer for like a death. And now you got Alex Jones, who I guess, dude, I don't know all the charges, but like said things that you didn't like about an event. Like I'm still having a really hard time with this. So you and I last week, we were talking about Nick Fuentes.
Right.
Like it doesn't make a fucking difference what he, I never watched his show. If he said some shit that sucks, then show it to me and I'll tell you if I agree with that or not. It's absolutely irrelevant. The precedent that's going to be set with him, he says X, Y, and Z, so we get to take his money. Like this is all what I'm trying to point the finger at. And that's when I talk about conspiracy theories, I'm not talking about fucking holograms or fucking aliens. I'm not talking about flat earth. I'm talking about dudes colluding to fuck regular people. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm interested,
Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. Like, regardless of what you feel about any of these people who have been deplatformed or shut down or sued or attacked by the government, like regardless of what you feel about their personal views, if you're cheering that on in any way, just realize you could be next, because I mean, if you like, I'm a Uyghur genocide denier, like I haven't seen any evidence of that being true. Like, I guess it could be, but it's all eyewitness accounts that they have. They don't have any tangible evidence of organ harvesting taking place in camps in China directed at the Uyghurs or whatever. If I'm wrong about that, like I've done shows with Patrick McFarlane and I did one with I think Dave DeCamp talking about it too. Nice. Like if I was wrong about that, and there are Uyghur camps where they are harvesting people's organs, I guess those people have a right to be offended that I said that. Like, sure, but should I get in legal trouble for that? And I think with at least with a lot of these people, it's not that they're even like with me. Like I didn't straight up actually deny the possibility of this taking place, but I said there's no proof of it, and if you look at who's pushing this stuff, you should take everything that's said about it with a grain of salt. Which I think is similar to what Alex has said about Sandy Hook. I don't know I haven't like you. I don't watch his show all the time, and so I don't know everything that he said about it or whatever, but I think it was mostly questions or whatever. I mean, if we start getting to the point where you can't question things because people died during something, that's bad. It's like, yeah, people died in Sandy Hook. Yeah, well, people died in Iraq too. People died in all these things. And if we're not allowed to ask questions about something because people died, that's a pretty dangerous territory to be, be marching toward. Where people died, they're the ones we should be asking the most questions about. And if someone is wrong, the way to illuminate the truth is to just allow more information around the subject. Like once you start not allowing people to talk about whatever subject it is, it just gives them more reason to believe that you're trying to hide something.
Dude, absolutely. And I was paying pretty close attention to stuff in 2011, 2012 when that happened. And, I'm not going to go deep into anything. I'm just going to say there were some compelling arguments being made at the time. I'll just say that, and I'll end it there. But it doesn't matter how disgusting or detestable his opinion is, or how weird or whatever outrageous the theory is. Like it's insane that we're saying, all right, like he had a gross conspiracy theory that you didn't like and that it upset some parents who lost their kids. Like that's okay. That's awful. So you need $150 million then? Mm-hmm. Is that what you need to make it better? You need Alex Jones's money. Okay. And again, the precedent that's going to be set from this, I don't even know, dude. I wonder what that's going to look like, but I don't know. Maybe he's a taint agent. Maybe this is the function of Alex Jones to like fuck up the social media shit. Bleep. You know what I mean? Come on over here,
right.
Fuck this up. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to wonder like how much of everything is actually controlled. Like how deep does it go? Because some people are so blue-pilled, they think it's George W. Bush versus John Kerry. Like, that's the good guy versus the bad guy.
Right.
And then you reach another level, and it's like, no. It's more like Trump versus, Hillary. That's good versus bad. And then, no. It's more like, Tulsi versus, the DNC. And then you're like, well, actually, even Tulsi's kind of messed up on, like, you just like keep going down the rabbit hole and you just like keep realizing like, holy shit, like where does this end?
Tulsi was in the CFR. Holy shit. What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting to wonder how deep it all goes. Like at what level are things controlled, or is it not really as controlled as we think it is, and this is just people following their own incentives, or is there actually some sort of orchestrated plan taking place? I don't know. Like, it's interesting to wonder. I don't think any of us really know, so it's
definitely
fun
don't
to
know.
talk about.
My inclination and my feeling is that the cathedral or the state or Goliath or the system or whatever you want to call it, the name of its game is order and control and centralization. Those are like what it wants to do and what it's focusing on all the time. And us as humanity are always trying to, we are chaos because we are free. That's that other, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that society shouldn't have order in it. I'm just saying that humanity's destiny, if you're an anarchist anyway, is to be free. And that's what we're fighting against. And I think that they're having trouble, man. This is if you want the white pill. I think they're having trouble jamming the signal. Like they had it easy with Walter Cronkite, three network channels, and everybody just went home, did the same thing. People like yearn for that shit. It's like, it wasn't good. Just everybody was fast asleep. So like this might be a painful wake up for humanity that we have to go through. But I think we'll be okay. I think that they can't manage the chaos. I think that's ultimately they will fail to do that. Because centralization will fail. Like, right. The managerial state won't be able to manage the thing. They can't do it.
So what is it that inspires you to do this? Like, why do you care? Because I think like me, you're not a religious person. So what is it that makes you want to fight back, and why does it all matter at the end of the day to you?
Dude, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, actually. And I'm not religious, though. I do want to go back to the 90s and apologize to the little ass, like I was an asshole to like the religious right. Fuck you guys, blame them for everything. And I was wrong about that. I would much rather hang around right now like any religious Christian, whatever. I don't care who you are, just a regular traditional person rather than like some nihilistic asshole. But like I don't know, man. When I from a young age was just like untrusting of the system or whatever, and being anti-war because that was like, I don't know, I was 20 when 9/11 happened, so like I felt like my whole paradigm was fucking shifting because I was like just ignorant, living in like 1990s America. It's like the best thing, it's just the best possible scenario. And then that happened, so you're like, oh my God, this is all thrown into chaos and whatever. But as shitty as it was for like an American man to experience that, it's like it was way more fucked up and apparent to me that you can't go murder people overseas because somebody did something to you over here. And I remember, like, I don't know, for years, man, I felt like I could just tell people, like, yo, they're killing people over here because, isn't that crazy? And, like, not only, you just don't win people over like that, man. I just thought that would be an absolute deal breaker for anybody, like, in touch with their humanity. Like, we can't be just housing people for, and here's the 5-year anniversary for 9/11. We're still over here. Here's the 10-year anniversary. I'm still yelling at people, clucking on the internet. 20, like, dude, it's just, and we're still in that paradigm though. Like we have been in the permanent emergency state since I was 20 years old. I'm 41. Everything, you got to look at that like as the epicenter of that new phase, not just for America, but for the globe. Right. And now we're entering a new one with the World Economic Forum, UN agenda. The petrodollar is out. The corporatists that are gutting this country are cool with that because we're moving on to CBDCs and we're not going to control people with oil anymore. We're going to control them with fucking medical tyranny, and we got all kinds of other stuff and battery cars that they won't be able to fucking drive far and all kinds of stuff. So, what keeps me going, dude? I don't fucking know. I feel like, my friends and talking about it, like this is, there's a reason people pay hundreds of dollars to go to talk to a therapist, right? You got to talk it out. Right?
Yeah. Don't spend hundreds of dollars. Watch Dave versus Goliath and The Naturalist Capitalist instead. It's free.
Is a way better use of your money and time. Yeah, absolutely. But honestly, it does help, man. And, we got to get the message out and we got to have fun while we do it. And I always try to remind myself, if we can't laugh, they win or they've won. Right. Like if we can't have fun, you're not a religious guy. So we have one life to live.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to let these bastards fuck my life up? Shit. I'm going to have some fun. You know what I mean? I got a beautiful girl in there, dog and a cat, pantry full of food, fat sack of weed. Like, life is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I do feel like lucky. I don't want to be an ingrate. I want to preserve what we've been, afforded here. Life in America in the 90s was pretty sweet, and we're probably never going to get back. But, like, I want to be the guy who goes, the 90s was sweet. Here's why it was great. Before the 9/11, all the shit that these, poor kids, man, they'll never know. 20-year-old kid will never know pre-9/11 life. I know you were a Bush kid in 2004. I saw that picture.
Oh, yeah. You've seen that one.
It's great.
I just gotten all the skeletons out of my closet. Like, there's pictures of me in World War II uniforms from when I was reenacting and making movies. Like, I've just put it all out there because it's like, you guys are going to find this one way or the other. And if I'm just more upfront about it, it's easier. So getting all that out there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, the 90s. I remember the 90s. They were good. I was just a kid. But I remember flying on a plane in 1999, just how easy it was to get on there and how low stress everything was. And I take it to another level. Like it's not just the kind of the easygoingness of the 90s. I miss like I miss the cars from the 90s. I miss a ton of things. It was like the 90s was where we kind of peaked. Like we had harnessed technology to do what we wanted it to do, but it didn't own us yet. And
bro,
then,
this is what fucking Morpheus said to Neo in the goddamn Matrix, bro. You believe the year's 1999. This is the peak. This is as good as it's going to get right now.
Yeah. But, I mean, it was like, everything worked, and we'd figured a ton of shit out, and we were amazing ourselves with all our inventions or whatever, but we hadn't reached the point where they were controlling us yet. We were still kind of at the wheel, figuratively and literally. And now we're literally not even at the wheel anymore. Like, your cars drive you around, and your phone kind of owns you now. Like, your social media life, is a slave master. Like, all this stuff has turned and started controlling us.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any going back, because it makes sense, right? Like, that's the problem. You can't fight like this new technological idiocracy that we live in, because it, in a backwards way, it just makes sense. Like, it makes sense for you to be able to just order your food on your phone and FaceTime anyone from anywhere on the planet, and be able to share your pictures to thousands of people at one time, instead of mailing them, in letters to all your friends so they could see what's going on. Like, none of that shit makes any sense. And I feel like there's no real way to avert I don't know what you call it, just the blob that we're becoming. Like, that's what I really want to figure out. Like, is there a way to still advance technologically without becoming slaves to the technology, and without becoming boring, just wandering blobs of matter that don't do anything anymore? Because everything interesting about us is because of struggles we've had to overcome. Like, when you look at past inventions, it's all about people figuring out how to get around something, like the railroads, the rocket ships, the cars, everything they made during the wars. It was all figuring out how to get to the next level of something. But now we're not removing any obstacles to arrive anywhere. Now it's just all about, like, having everything at your fingertips without any effort on your behalf at all. And that's where I think it, like, made a turn and became self-destructive.
Dude, everything, the American experience, you said if you're not careful, you become a blob. The American experience, and I think this is done by design, you live your life by proxy in almost every example of your life. Forget wars, which are always fought by proxy now, right? We're fighting a war right now through NATO over there but America's at war right now, right? We're just not doing it. We don't feel it because we're not doing it. You every time you order, food that's delivered to your door, like, you did not go out and get that food. You don't have to think about, like, just delivered to you. If you have a babysitter that takes care of your kid every day, or a nanny or something like that, you are proxying, or you send them to public school, you just proxied out, raising your kid for 8 hours a day. Like, it's really taking away the human experience. And I've really thought about this a lot the past couple years. Like, holy shit, what's the answer? Like, I love where I live in a beautiful historic town, but I've thought, like, should we, like, move off the grid? Talking to my girl, like, what is the answer to this? Should we get chickens and all these things, like Top Lobster? I think he's got it figured out, though. Like, you don't have to move away from everything. It's cool to you should have grass, and you should have a garden, and you should be able to, like, have a couple months worth of food. I think that's the sweet spot, man. But, like, I think at the end of the day, I've thought about it, and I don't want to miss all the cool shit. I want to be able to talk to people, who from New Hampshire, and, like, use all this cool technology. I like playing around with these phones.
It's so funny for me to be complaining about it while I'm complaining about it to you on a screen where I'm talking with you, at the same time, when you're, a few hundred miles away from me. It's it's kind of ridiculous.
I get the contradiction, though. I understand
Yeah.
why you're thinking about it and putting, thought into that, because like, do we want to live like, do we want to just be like the plugged in kind of like, whatever, potato, just whatever, soon with the meta glasses and stuff, where the end result of this all is. But I think, again, like that, the yin and yang, bro, order, chaos, we got to just kind of ride the line and get the best of both worlds, maybe.
Yeah. Well, sweet, man. I'm going to show your YouTube channel on the screen here. This is the link. I dropped it in the live chat. So if you guys are watching this live, just click on that link. That brings you to his YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. If you're listening to this, it will be linked in the description, and you can go check him out. But Dave, I know you're always getting banned. Like you put me to shame. I think you've gone through like 6 or 7 Twitter accounts in the time I know you. I've only done 2.
It's 5 or 6. Yeah.
You're always getting, suspended temporarily on Facebook. You can't live stream, can't post, can't like it. All that shit's going on. So,
dude, I'm not even that based. I'm pretty normal. I'm not even doing anything that crazy. So yeah, I gotta figure out that shit. But I heard you're on Telegram. Me and you should get on TikTok, bro. That's the gold rush. Let's get on there and fuck that shit up.
We'll get banned really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeremy Kaufman's banned off TikTok just for posting his
crazy.
his
he had
daily
crazy
walk
plays
shit.
on there. Meant like many hundreds of thousands of clicks on that video, and they canned him.
It's the content people crave, but they're not allowed to have it. So where can is it just YouTube? Is that the most reliable place, or do you have like a home base that is a free speech hub where you can't get banned off of, or what's the deal?
I'm working on that, man. I want to. Yeah, the guy who does it right is Dan Smots at The System Is Down. I got to have my own website and a place where I can do all that. But no, right now YouTube's the best place. Everything gets backed up to Odyssey. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm hiding in the rafters in Twitter.
Only a few privileged people know who he is.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. Good
Appreciate
conversation.
you,
Definitely do it again. Any final thoughts you want to leave the audience with before we close the show out?
Yeah, we got to stick up for even the people that we find detestable, and if it affects you, just be selfish, like everybody thinks you are. You're a libertarian. Be selfish. Look out for your own rights, and yeah. So Alex Jones was right.
All right, there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will be speaking tomorrow in Orlando at Young Americans for Liberty. I'll just be there one day, flying right down and right back up. And then I'll probably be out of commission all next week. I'll be up in Maine, off the grid for a few days. So I might be doing a show on Friday next week, but other than that, not much going on. So please share the videos. I've actually noticed a decline in activity on YouTube, and I was getting more views in 2021 when I was talking with some nobody than when I was talking to Ron Paul. So I don't think that's actually natural. I think that's some sort of algorithmic suppression. And I also don't have Twitter anymore. So if you guys could share these videos around and and leave comments on them, just get the algorithms trending or whatever, would really help me out. So just I appreciate all the support, and thanks for watching the show, and we'll catch you guys on the next live stream.